Hey, what's up, everybody? It's Priyan Joni. So today we're going to talk about a concept that would apply to working DJs, artists, producers, musicians, basically somebody who is making most of their income, if not all their income, from their craft. And it's a concept called gig optional. So gig optional is basically an idea where you're able to critically choose which gigs you take, be selective about them, against whether they qualify for at least one of these three things. Self-satisfaction, which means if you were to do the gig for free, would you be satisfied personally? Were you able to share all of your craft and give it your all? Were people appreciating, the crowd appreciating what you were doing? Versus maybe a crowd that's just there to get drunk, get laid, whatever. Is your gig self-satisfying? Number two, does it provide opportunity? Does this gig that you take, does it lead to another gig? Whether it pays you or it feels self-satisfying in the moment, does it at least lead you to something that gives you one of the other three as well? And the last one is, if it's not self-satisfying and doesn't provide opportunity, are you paid your worth or more? So when people become financially dependent on their gigs and all their bookings, that means they start to take gigs that don't qualify for any of these three. They start to sell themselves short. And it breaks my heart to see many talented people, many talented DJs, artists, when they're taking gigs that aren't paid their worth because they have student loans, they have a mortgage, they have a family, they have car payments, whatever it is. You start to take the gigs based on your own needs, and then you start becoming unhappy because it starts becoming a grind. A lot of folks talk about DJing as a job where you can be passionate about and it doesn't feel like work. But the reality is there's a lot of work out there that DJs do that definitely feels like work. So I'm not trying to put heat on the mobile DJs, but let me ask a tough question. If you were all of a sudden to start making the same money you made for your gigs, but instead you were staying home, would you still be taking the same gigs you take today? Would you still be doing customer service for a bride and groom? Would you be taking corporate gigs? Would you still be breaking your back to carry speakers and lights and setting them up every weekend away from your family? And I get it. Some people truly enjoy the experience of being able to play for people and making them happy. I totally get that. But the challenging thought is, do you love it enough that you would do it for free? Is it that self-satisfying? Does it provide opportunity that leads you to the gig that you dreamed about when you first became a DJ or an artist? Does it pay you enough? Or is your price based on the market value? To be gig optional, which is the ability to be selective of the gigs you take, you have to be financially independent from the need to take several gigs. It's the ability to say no to a gig that doesn't qualify for any of these three. It doesn't self-satisfy you, doesn't provide opportunity, it doesn't pay you what you're worth or more. When you're gig optional, you have more of the confidence to be able to say, hey, this is my price, take it or leave it. Because to you, it doesn't really matter if you do the gig or not because you're financially not attached to it. Or they're gonna have to meet you at the price that you set yourself on. When you're gig optional, when an enjoyable gig comes along, you don't have to feel ripped off if the promoter doesn't offer a lot. You can take the gig that makes you feel satisfied. And that's because you know you'll have a good time. During the recent pandemic, the DJs and the DJ companies that aren't struggling as bad are the ones who came into it gig optional, or they adapted and became gig optional. So let's talk about the gig optional folks and how they got there. But first, a word from our sponsor, Direct Music Service. DMS is an online database for working DJs and mix artists. It's the one-stop shop where you can get your music from for your gigs. It's a searchable, organized database with thousands of edits, remixes, and different versions of your favorite tracks from many different genres. You can now save some money and get a discount using one of these two coupon codes. Use the code PJMonthly and get 30% off your first month off any monthly subscription. Use the coupon code PJYearly and get 10% off your entire first year of any yearly subscription. Go to directmusicservice.com today to sign up. So like I said, the concept of gig optional really applies to the full-time working DJ, musician, artist, the ones that are 100% or majority of their income comes from their gigs. It might not be a concept for a new DJ or a young DJ who's still hungry for any gig they can get. Gig optional applies to the type of performer that knows what kind of gigs they wish they had. There's folks that achieve those gigs regularly, the ones that are self-satisfying, provide opportunity, and pay you what you're worth or more. And then there's the people who wish that their gigs were self-satisfying, provided opportunity, and pay them more than they're making. So this idea of gig optional may apply more to the folks who have been working for 5, 10, 15, 20 years. The young DJ who hasn't been gigging yet might not really understand the idea of selecting your gigs and saying no to some. The new DJ or the young DJ is still doing some soul searching, discovering what kind of artist they want to become. And that's an integral part in their growth. And I would say maybe lay off the idea of gig optional for now. There might even be occasional DJs who have a full-time job, and they're in some cases gig optional themselves because they're only taking the gigs that they enjoy. They might not take the open format club that plays all the top 40. They take the electronic music events that their friends throw or their local scene throws. They're somewhat gig optional in a way. However, their income doesn't come from doing gigs. So who I'm talking to today are the people who 100% are dependent on their gigs to be able to reach a level of gig optionality. This might not be the case for all DJs and artists who have been performing for many years, but some folks just wake up one day and realize this is not the type of work that they originally dreamed to do. They might say something like, wow, when I first became a DJ, I wasn't dreaming of a time where I'd be breaking my back, setting up speakers and playing cha-cha slide for a wedding. But I have a family to feed and to think about, so I have to take these gigs. Or you might be the club DJ who starts to ask themselves, how did I end up here playing for a crowd of people who don't know any more music than WAP and Lil Wayne? Or you start to have the festival DJ envy, where you look at the 17-year-old kid who barely DJ'd for the last 2 years is now on that festival stage when you yourself have been DJing for the last 20 years. And I started on vinyl back in my day, and now all I'm doing is cha-cha sliding and playing WAP, while that kid makes $50,000 to $100,000 per gig. This isn't fair. Well, the reason is because you are not gig optional, and you're taking the gigs because you need them. Rather than you controlling your gigs control you. Now, there might be some people who might say, he's like, well, no matter what gig it is, I just love playing for the crowd, no matter what it is. So once again, I ask you, if you made the same money as your gigs, except now you're staying home, would you still be playing for the same crowd if the gig was for free? Would it be satisfying to play for them for free? Would it provide opportunity playing for them for free? Or would you charge more? And I know my underground electronic music DJ friends are going to be like, yeah, well, I do that now because all our gigs are self-satisfying. But I'm not talking to you guys. What I'm talking to are the folks that are working full-time with their gigs, but actually had a dream of becoming a different type of DJ or artist, but reality set in. Let's take an extreme example. The superstar DJs, the ones on the festival stages, the ones that are playing the main nights in Vegas nightclubs, the ones playing in Ibiza, the ones touring nationally. By the way, this is all pre-COVID. The ones who play songs that are played at the club or the radio, the ones that have become household names. Well, when you look at it, they checkmark all 3 of these categories. I would imagine when they're playing for folks that want to see them play and enjoy the music that they're playing and are appreciating the art and craft that they're doing, more or less, because we know that Some superstar DJs don't do more than mix, but they do produce their music. I would imagine that that is very, very self-satisfying. And every gig they do seems to be an opportunity for the next event. I would imagine. In fact, they get booked out by their label all throughout the year and tours and whatnot. And I would also imagine that if you've ever seen those booking fees for those superstar DJs, I think they're paid their worth. Might even be paid more than they're worth. So they definitely are playing self-satisfying gigs with great opportunity and a really, really nice paycheck. But is it possible for regular folks like us to become gig optional? And as we mentioned, the occasional DJs are gig optional because they aren't financially dependent to their gigs. But what about the DJs and artists that are very financially dependent on their gigs? Can they become gig optional? Recently, because of COVID, many DJs from the bottom all the way to the top lost all their upcoming work. This last year was tough for everybody. There's no doubt about that. But there's a small sect of DJs that actually pulled through. And I'm not talking about the superstars that just had money in the bank to ride this thing out. There are people who started struggling in the beginning and didn't know where the next paycheck was coming from and somehow pulled through. These DJs decided to start a career with fans only. I'm just kidding. Who I'm talking about are the DJs who were tech savvy enough to start using Twitch as a tool to gather people, an audience around the world, starting at 0 followers for a lot of these folks, and eventually monetize their content that they're live streaming. And it's no easy task to create a following on Twitch. A lot of people try it and then quit. But the ones who are successful range from, okay, I'm making enough to get by from all these bits, all the way to people who are now literally saying, I'm making more live streaming than I did when I was gigging. These folks are definitely gig optional now. The few folks that I've spoken to that actually got to that level are actually now saying, I don't even think I want to go back to be carrying speakers and breaking my back and having my weekends taken away. If I'm making more on Twitch than hauling lights and speakers every weekend, what's the point of doing that? Well, you probably would have to charge more then, right? What's awesome is these folks who are live streaming are actually increasing the value of what it means to pay for the services of a DJ or an artist. Because these folks who are kicking ass on Twitch don't have to worry about letting that gig go. If they charge to a point where folks are just like, no, I'm just gonna go for the cheaper guy, well, okay, go ahead, you know? Now I get it. A lot of DJs are a little turned off by the idea of switching their career to spinning in front of a camera and the only crowd you have is a live chat. Nothing beats the feeling of spinning in front of real people. Now here's the thing. I think this is where the people who don't live stream don't understand the value of the people who do, because there's something to be taken from being able to reach more people. When you live stream, you're unlikely going to be playing music that you don't like. It's up to you. It's your show. It's not a bar you have to worry about. It's not a dance floor you have to worry about. And that is starting to qualify as self-satisfying. And your reach, you're starting to grow a fan base that has a reach around the world and not just a local physical venue. When you do that, you're actually gaining fans. And these fans are potential places that you could be booked at physically one day. Opportunity. And while it might not be the case initially, whether it's Twitch, YouTube, Mixcloud, if you're starting to roll in some good cash from tips, bits, whatever it is, you start to reevaluate your actual gigs that you used to take, if they're worth it. Because now you have a separate income stream that's not your gigs anymore. So you're starting to wonder which ones I'm going to select. So think of your live stream as a gig that is self-satisfying, provides opportunity, and it might or might not pay you what you're worth. But when it does start to pay you, you start reevaluating if your other gigs are worth it because you just created a new income stream. Now, I'm going to put this disclaimer out there. We don't know what the future of making money for DJs on Twitch is going to be with all the conflicts, the legal conflicts with copyright. And the whole idea of live streaming is not to replace reality with virtual DJing. A lot of people, the ones in conspiracy land, are so fearful of normalizing the virtual aspect of being able to reach, when this is just part of the information age. This is a way for you to actually get more opportunity to play in other places around the world. Being gig optional is about having the choice to only take the gigs that make you feel fulfilled as a human being. The ones that you feel you live for. Now, live streaming is just one little factor in a big umbrella called content creation. You can do live streaming, or you can make videos on YouTube, like what I'm doing now. You can have branding with merch, or you can make music. There's all sorts of avenues under the umbrella of being a content creator. You can show your craft, you can teach your craft, and it all revolves around more than just showing up to a place for 4 to 6 hours and trading your time for money. And what's awesome about content creation, now maybe not with live streaming, because live streaming is like you have to keep doing it to continue to generate income, but when you're creating content and it's archived or it's sitting on the internet, and say you're monetized like on YouTube, it can generate what's called passive income. What's passive income? That's basically income that comes from work you did ahead of time, and then you get paid for later on once you're done doing the work. And if it's really, really good, it continues to pay you over time. Now, I don't believe that passive income is perpetual, where you make one viral video and it's going to pay you forever. It doesn't work like that. But when you have enough content, whether it's music, whether it's videos, whether it's regular live stream archives, no matter what it is that you build content on, it could even be your own social media, just you goofing off online, or your Twitter. If you find a way to monetize that, it pays you over and over after the fact of creating that content. The reason why a lot of people quit content creation, like, oh, I tried live streaming, I couldn't grow a following, nobody follows me there. Or I've tried YouTube for 6 months to a year and I didn't get any subscribers, so it's not worth it anymore. The reason why people end up quitting is because they weren't patient enough to know that this initial time that you started is an investment of your time and sometimes maybe even your money, but it's mostly your time. Unlike taking a gig, it doesn't pay you right away unless you've been doing it for years and have grown your virality, your subscribers, your followers. It took me 8 years since I started my YouTube to finally be qualified for monetization. That is slow growth. I know people who've done it in 2, 3, 4 years. I took almost a decade. And I think that was, if I remember correctly, I think that's when I first hit my first 1,000. Then the following year was 2,000. Then the following year was 4,000. I had exponential growth all the way until last year. And I kind of just hit a flat line at 10,000 new subscribers a year since this time last year. But once you become valuable for your information that you provide, your message that you provide, your content, as opposed to the time you're renting away that you're trading for dollars at your bookings, you will start to take advantage and profit from the exchange of that information on the internet. And this is the concept of the age we're in, called the information age. I'm starting to sound like a financial guru, but I promise I'm not. What I'm trying to do is trying to get DJs and artists to believe in themselves to fulfill the dream of why they became a DJ or artist in the first place. If you wanted to become a battle DJ, I'm trying to show you a way where you don't have to spend your weekends playing cha-cha slide. 15 years ago, I read in a magazine, I think it was Club Systems International, where I forgot who the famous DJ was, but they said that the shortcut way to becoming a successful superstar, I'm adding in there, DJ, is to make music. Today, with the internet, I'm gonna expand on that and say the shortcut way is to create content. Creating music is one method of creating content. Love him or hate him, Pauly D is booked because of the content he created on a reality show a long time ago. When your bills are dependent on your income that is trading time for dollars, you will perpetually start going down the rabbit hole of selling yourself short. And some people might have a spurt of self-satisfying gigs while making a decent wage. But if you want to get to the point where you're able to qualify your gigs and say no to anything that doesn't qualify here, content creation is the avenue where you can use your craft to make money from a completely different source than the bookings that you take. I think everyone who is truly DJing or performing, doing art, doing production, whatever art form you do, I think you all deserve to have self-satisfying gigs, ones that provide opportunity and be paid your worth. If you're doing it for the right reasons, where you truly love what you're doing, I think you deserve that. The only reason why I shared content creation is because that's what I know how to do. But whatever it is, whatever it takes to become gig optional, do what you can to get to that point. Because when your gigs start feeling like it's a grind, it starts eating away at your relationships at home. It's starting to compromise your own character. Some people start feeling the need to drink their problems away. And then it just starts to become downhill. And one day you'll wake up and you feel like a washed up, angry DJ who is mad at all the controller kids for using the sync button. Find your way to become gig optional, because if there's one thing that the pandemic taught us, is you don't want to be financially dependent on this industry, because the first industry to go was entertainment. We all coped with the pandemic differently. Some people took it lightly, and some people took it really, really bad. And the people who took it the worst are probably the ones who are angry and are spreading conspiracy theories without evidence, all mad at the things that they have no control over anyway. But there are folks who had it in them to adapt, to adjust, and to execute. When times got tough, they got tougher. And you know, when DJs and artists are starting to aim at becoming gig optional, it would actually make the DJ industry, or the pool of people to book, more valuable. And let me tell you why. I would imagine that there might be less people taking mobile DJ gigs. So what does that mean for the active mobile DJs? That means that they don't have to worry about so many people competing for that one client. So their value is raised. It's classic economics, supply and demand. So here's a real life example that happened recently that's totally unrelated to the pandemic. In the last 10 years, music festivals became kind of the thing to do for a lot of kids, and they became more appealing than going out to the nightclubs. So every DJ wanted to be an EDM DJ. EDM DJs aren't exactly qualified to be playing at the open format clubs. What did that mean for the open format DJs? More job security, because there's less of them out there trying to get your job. For my old open format gigs, I noticed my pay went up and there was less people trying to undercut. In fact, I don't even remember the last time I had a major undercutter. Now that completely depends where you live, because I don't think that applies to every city. But it did to mine. You decrease the supply, you increase the demand. Classic economics. When people are taking advantage of the information age and utilizing it to generate their own income, it benefits an entire industry as a whole. Because there will be a shift from grinding to being paid your worth or more. And it's coming from a totally separate place. And when money is no longer the factor that makes you choose your gigs, you can choose purely the ones for the love of your craft. That's what becoming gig optional is all about. If you have any questions, comments, or anything to add about the topic of being gig optional, please leave them in the comment section below. Would love to hear your thoughts, answer any questions, or learn anything new that I didn't cover in this video today. If you like this video, please smash that like button. And if it's your first time here and you found this video useful, please click that subscribe button. And don't forget to click that little bell icon so you get a notification the next time I upload a video. Don't forget to add me on Twitch, where I do my live streams. I like to switch around the DJ gear that I'm using so that the ones that I do demonstrations of on my YouTube, you can see them in action. And it's a different one for every episode I do. All right, really appreciate you for watching. Thank you. Take care, stay healthy, and let's become gig optional.